Brief introduction. I've got 77 IT certifications, 36 are in cybersecurity, 5 of them are pen testing certifications, saying that I can break into your building, I can break into your network. I do get hired to break into banks and hospitals. As a matter of fact, I've even presented here in this room for another organization called InfoSec Southwest, which is a cybersecurity conference that has not been resurrected since COVID. That's a picture of me doing that to a CPA office. I've worked alongside bang breach teams in the special forces for physical construction. My father was a locksmith, so I've eat, breathe, sleep, physical security, cybersecurity all day long. So the point of this is not to train you all how to be hackers. The point of this is to train you what you need to do to prevent from people being hacked. Hacking is becoming more and more, I'm going to say, mainstream because the resources out there to do it are easy. You can easily get your hands on some YouTube courses. People out there are desperate to make money by creating content, and they push that content out to people who are interested in making money and sometimes making that money on the backs of you. So let's walk through. Normally this is a live presentation, and I get volunteers, which leads more to the indigestion. Open source intelligence gathering is the first phase of an attack, meaning if somebody hired me and said, hey, come penetration test my business, I would first look them up. I'd look them up on Facebook, I'd look them up on LinkedIn, I'd look them up on Glassdoor. I'd start finding your employees' names. If your website has a nice clear list of all of the executives and VPs and partners and people who are in charge at the organization, thank you. So, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to do some searches. I'm going to do some searches for those people. Some of these are sites you can record if you want and go check out yourself. Now, I know people in the legal organizations have easy access to tools like LexisNexis and a lot of other resources. These are free. So again, when we're talking about people who are coming after you, there are no barriers to anything in this presentation. If people want to spend money, this gets way easier. So, True People Search, Fast People Search, you can pull those up right on your laptop right now. There's no cost to go to these. These are aggregate dumps of state databases and public databases and private databases. They have email addresses in them. And ZoomInfo is the exact opposite of the spectrum. If you were going to go spend, I don't know, $3,000 a month, ZoomInfo will practically give you your kid's maiden name at this point. There's no barrier for ZoomInfo. They already know everyone that works at your business. They already have everybody's cell phone number, everybody's address. There's no digging if they've got a ZoomInfo account. So I'm going to take that information list. I'm going to take your employees. I'm going to take that list of people who have been very clear that you might have even instructed to go put on LinkedIn that you work at this firm or at this organization, and then I'm going to go look at what breach data those people have. Dehashed is a great website you can go to for breach data. You can see that says 14 billion. Those are compromised email accounts. Those are compromised pieces of information. So how does that happen? This is a website that you went and put your information in years ago. They didn't do their good job of securing their website, and that data gets hacked and breached. So this isn't anything that you did in particular. So the responsibility is out of your hands. The problem is that people like to reuse passwords. And as they reuse passwords, if I do a dark web search on someone and I see that they've been in 15 different breaches and I see 2 passwords, well, guess what passwords I'm going to bring at you? I'm going to try those passwords everywhere. I'm going to try those on Apple Pay. I'm going to try those on PayPal, on Samsung. I'm certainly going to go to your company's web portal. I'm going to go to Gmail. I'm going to go to Office. I'm going to try those passwords. And if there's a 1 on the end, I'm going to add exclamation mark. If there's a 1 on the end, I'm going to change it to a 2. Right? People's passwords in high school were I love dolphins. Now for corporate requirements, it's I love dolphins with a capital I and a 1 and an exclamation mark in the end. It's not hard for me to figure this stuff out. There's actually tools that hackers have that just do it for us. And there's a lot more than just dehashed. Raid Forums, this website no longer exists. This has been taken down by the FBI. Raid Forums is actually a place where people were buying and selling entire websites and databases and giving themselves hacker challenges. So, hey man, I'll give you $50 if you can go hack that website and get the database for me. And then 2 days later, somebody would be, hey, here's your database. That's it. It's that fast and easy. So, what do I have so far? Well, I've got some network IDs. What's a network ID? That's your IP address, right? That's given to you by your internet service provider, whether it's Spectrum or Astound or AT&T. It doesn't matter who it is. They're giving you an IP address. You've probably put it into your firewall. You have it configured in some way, shape, or form. I've got account information. I've got user information. I've got passwords. And I'm going to look those passwords up to pivot for more passwords. There's an interesting story. We were doing a reconnaissance on a company, and we discovered that one of the VPs of the company, as we did this process, his password was impressively unique, but he kept reusing it because he thought it was super secure, and it was super unique. Well, 15 minutes later, I've got his catfish accounts that he's going out and trying to date people behind his wife's back. Because I looked his password up in the breaches, found that he was in the Ashley Madison breaches and a few others, and then suddenly I had this whole other personality that he had constructed online, and now I was able to look up more information on that. Leads to interesting conversations at the office table. So I've got IP addresses, where to bring these passwords to, and I've got software information, meaning people who have left your organization, right? They want to go get another job. They're holding their hand up at LinkedIn and saying, hey, these are my skills. So if your organization is a TrialWorks organization or a FileVine organization, they're going to clearly say, this is how many years of experience I have in these tools and these skill sets. Please hire me. Well, I can go tell, hey, this law office uses these tools, so I can engineer attacks using these tools to get their employees to do something. So now I'm going to do some digital reconnaissance of the target. Digital reconnaissance is I'm going to go look up what you're using. There's a whole bunch of information that crazy IT nerds develop and look at. So I can go out and I can look up what's called your MX record, which just tells me who hosts your email. Right? So I know I'm going to Google, which is google.com, and I know I'm going to office.com if you're using Office. These are not complicated things. If you're using software as a service, or you're using servers that are on premises, if everything you're doing is web hosted, I'm able to reach out and touch those things anytime I want. I'm able to easily reach out and scan them, easily reach out and fingerprint them, and I'm going to easily engage those tools and services that exist that you're paying for, just like the websites that got breached. If your information is not properly secured, if your information is not properly indexed, I might get into the services that you're purchasing. And there are tools that let me do that. So Shodan.io is a website that aggregates that data for me. In digital forensics, if anyone is experienced here, you can usually get an idea of who's been talking to you, who's been poking your network, who's been doing these things. Well, websites like Shodan do it for me. They poke and scan every IP address on the entire internet about once a week. So I can just go make an account at Shodan, which is super cheap, and if you buy some Black Friday or some Christmas deal, maybe it's $20 for life. We're talking very, very, very small dollars. I'm going to know everything it is that your company is offering to the internet. Is there a VPN that you're offering? Is there web pages? Are there other things that you have out there? Do you have another portal off to the side? You've got an IP address for your internal information, and then you've got an IP address for public, even simple things like, are you offering public Wi-Fi? And then stage 4. This is where I'm going to physically attack your office. How does that physical attack happen? Well, There are, again, websites out there like Hackers for Hackers that are already doing these things. Wiggle.net is a great one. Wiggle.net is literally a website where I walk around with a backpack and I track all of the Wi-Fis that my backpack comes across. And I just submit it. You might not be able to see, but on the right-hand side of that screen it says Wi-Fi observations. That's 15 billion recorded Wi-Fi networks. How many people are on the Wi-Fi right now? How many people are also using a VPN on the Wi-Fi that you're using right now? Good. For those of you that didn't raise your hand, you're on a shared network with a bunch of other devices, and those devices can talk to you. They might not be able to talk to you directly, but I can do things like man-in-the-middle attacks, where I'm pretending to be the network, and I'm telling the network that I'm pretending to be you, and I can start recording data. The VPNs protect you from that. Anytime you're on a public network, if your IT person has not screamed at you in some way, shape, or form that you need to be on a VPN, that's why. And this is why. Because I'm already going to know, without leaving the comfort of my office, what the Wi-Fi is at your office. There are passwords in Wiggle. Very often, I will literally drive downtown in Austin. I'll be busy. I'll be in between something. Somebody will call me and they'll need some kind of support. I'll just pull over, look up where I am in Wiggle. There's like, 1 billion passwords for Wi-Fi there. I'll just hop on somebody's Wi-Fi. Sometimes it's meant to be public. Sometimes it's not. Most likely your business's Wi-Fi is here. And even if you have a Wi-Fi that isn't already listed, I can get your Wi-Fi to hand me what's called its token. That token is encrypted. So I need to take it back to my office and I need to crack that. But you can see just from a little bit here that getting Wi-Fi cracking tools is not difficult. It is not complicated. And as you can see, it says easily crack 70% of Wi-Fi passwords. I'm closer to 90. We're at the point where cracking passwords in Wi-Fi space is really, really, really easy, because the same video cards that people are using for gaming or for Bitcoin mining are what we use for password cracking. So I can go buy a very complex video card. It costs me like $1,000, but I'm cracking 6 billion passwords a second. As a matter of fact, this is that video card. And some of the benchmarks that it talks about says that it can unlock a single 8-character password in 48 minutes. That extrapolates out. Now, if I've just got that sitting in the back of my office and I'm just cracking passwords all day long, I'm going to get through some very, very complicated passwords. So your password should be a minimum of 12 characters. It should have more than one special character. It should have more than one number. It should have more than one capital. And the first character should not be a capital, because I'm going to guess that. And it shouldn't end in something like 1 exclamation mark, because I'm going to guess that. And the tools that we use to crack those things are automatically doing them. So I'm only 14 or 15 minutes in. How many people feel called out? Okay. That's it's completely normal. Don't worry about that. So here is Darren Kitchen. Darren Kitchen runs a great website called Hack5. If you really want to walk down some scary roads, go to Hack5 and check out what they have for sale off the shelf. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But this is him literally flying a drone and dropping on a roof and doing Wi-Fi password attacks. Right? I've done this myself. I fly a drone onto your roof. You probably don't have cameras on your roof. Why would you? And I'm just going to try and log into your Wi-Fi. Your Wi-Fi is going to say, hey, you got the password? I'm going to say no, but I got the authentication token. Thanks. And I'm going to fly away. And then I'm going to have that, or I'm going to just leave the drone there if I'm willing to sacrifice it for the job. And I've pulled that token back to my office, and then I crack the password if it's an easy password, and then I log back into the Wi-Fi, and now I'm scanning devices on the network, and I'm attacking your infrastructure. And maybe I'm just staying there. The average dwell time for a hack is 160 to 180 days. And if you don't know about this fine gentleman, or either of these folks, the Lockpicking Lawyer and McNally Official. So these are two easy to go find YouTubers that will show you how to pick and bypass absolutely everything that exists. And when I say absolutely everything, I am not exaggerating. 95% of Austin I can walk into anytime I want. And I have my customers challenge that. And then I show them, and they're like, how do I defend against that? And I show them a little bit more, and they're like, all right, well, can you still break in? Yeah, I can still break in. And you need to just elevate your security. Do you have an alarm? Do you have cameras? Do you have good locks? Or do you just have this thing that's been the same contractor off the shelf, pseudo minimum builder spec that has tools that let me get by it for 20 cents? So I'm in, right? So I've got passwords from employees. I've got your address. I've got your Wi-Fi. If it came down to it, I might be able to find pictures on Google Street View that tell me even what kind of locks you have before I even get in the car to drive over. Cybersecurity is no longer an adventure in letting your IT people do it. If you don't have a cybersecurity professional and somebody decides to take direct notice of you or your organization, you're going to have a bad day because they're just going to spend time and resources focusing on you and focusing on your infrastructure and using tools and resources that you have never heard of. Anytime that you explain something to a normal person about what you do and the amount of research and the amount of time and experience and case law and books you have read and things you have done, that is exactly the difference between you and an actual hacker deciding to draw a target on your organization. So, this is who we are. This is my company name, Titanium Computing. The cyber war companies aren't ready for it. You can see we've got about 8 hours of more content on our Facebook channel. We've got about 10 hours of content on our website. More presentations like this, longer presentations like this, live hacking presentations like this, that we get into talking about hardware, talking about implants, talking about compromises. But at this point, I want to open the floor up for any questions. Does anyone have any questions on cybersecurity or hacking in any way, shape, or form? Whether it's physical penetration, logical penetration, best practices, anything at all. Usually, I can fill about 4 hours worth of content just with people's questions. Sir?
For those of us who are not IT experts, what's the best way to secure the home Wi-Fi system?
Your home Wi-Fi? Your home Wi-Fi system should be as complicated a password as you can tolerate.
Just a password to get into your Wi-Fi?
Yep. So we'll talk a little bit about passwords. Your password should not be a long, complicated sentence that you then forget 2 or 3 times and keep calling your IT people, and then you're writing it down on a Post-it note. Should you have a password manager? Sure. And if you have LastPass, you should throw it away. But if you are having struggles with passwords, one of the things that you should be doing is making your passwords a memory. Literally, like think of a moment that you had a good time with your kids, a good time with your parents, a fantastic vacation you went on, something that you're not going to forget, and something that I can't find on Facebook. I can't find on LinkedIn. I can't find in a breach. There's nothing about you and that memory that I can go discover. You know, if you had a great time at the park with your kids, great time at the park with my 2 kids, that's a long password. It's super easy, and it's super memorable for you. That's how you should be recording passwords for the ones that are in your head. But you should have a password manager because probably everyone at this point in time has I don't know, 50 passwords, 100 passwords, and you're just hitting recover password every single time you need to go to log into something. And I'm taking advantage of that. When I break into people's networks and we talk about doing Wi-Fi penetration, I'm doing password recovery the first thing that I do when I get into somebody's email account. I get in their email account, I'm literally looking for lost password, password recovery. And it'll just be a wave of people having done password recovery, and then I'm taking those emails and saying, oh, those are other accounts they've got, and I create a little list of those, and I'll go attack those things with the same password that may or may not be in breaches. It's a great question. Sir?
Password managers secure?
Everything is you have to trust somebody somewhere. 1Password is the only one that really hasn't been breached. LastPass has had 3 breaches. There's a few other password managers out there, Dashlane, MyGlue. The password that you secure those with should be the most important password. 1Password lets you secure physical devices, so I can only log on to my 1Password account from 3 computers in the world. Even if you have the login credentials and everything else to go log into my 1Password account, you can't. You have to have those extra pieces of information. If you're going to go to the next step, you should look something up called YubiKey. That's YUBIKEY. And that's a little USB device that you plug into your computer. That's called a hardware security token. And that elevates you to the next level. So passwords are just authentication. Typically, it's something you know, password in your head. Something you are, that's where you get your retinal, your fingerprint, using your face to unlock your phone. And something you have, and that's where you would have a little RSA token or something from 10 years ago, or you've got your authenticator app on your phone or something like that. The hardware token becomes the something you have. And that lets you have even higher level of security, understanding that no one is going to get into your systems without that physical token. You should make a backup of that token, keep it in a safe deposit box or someplace. But yeah, that would be the next level. Does that answer your question, sir? Fantastic. Anyone else? Ma'am?
So the state agency that I work for does not have Wi-Fi at all.
Good.
And I grumble about that because I was like, I've never worked anywhere that doesn't have it, but they seem to think that that's very secure. Do you agree that don't have Wi-Fi at all?
So I didn't want to stand here and ramble about myself or my personal achievements. I did 3 deployments to Iraq and 9 deployments in Afghanistan with the DoD, Department of Defense, working for multiple different military subcontractors. Lockheed Martin was just one of them. If you go into a secret environment or a top secret environment or something called a SCIF, there's no Wi-Fi, or there shouldn't be Wi-Fi. If there is Wi-Fi, that's a big no-no. So think of Wi-Fi as it's literally an extension of your network. And if you are not comfortable with somebody on the sidewalk walking along and just being able to log into the network, right? If we right in my view, I see a network port over here on the wall. There's network ports here. There's network ports all over the place. Like, is the physical security of the organization safe enough to where I can just pick a laptop up, plug it in the wall, and I can go, and I can start scanning, and I can start hacking? The Wi-Fi is that. It's that port everywhere. So if you can get away with it, absolutely. If you have, but at the same time, you should offer something that is on a completely different network, that is completely segregated, because people will go out of their way to try and get around it. Just like I talked about being in secure facilities, I got to watch a military intelligence professional have a complete meltdown in Afghanistan because she plugged her iPhone into a secret zipper box. And the MP showed up and said, we saw that you plugged a computer in the USB. And she's like, oh, I was just charging it. Nothing to worry about. And they're like, no, ma'am, you need to come with us. And that phone needs to come with us, too. That altercation got to the point where they drew pistols. And they were like, hey, this is like an actionable offense. This could be treason. You've plugged a media removable media device that can store digital files. You work on digital files that are classified all day long. So if you don't give your employees an option, they might go make one. And that means they bring a home wireless router and they plug it in that port in the wall. And now you have a real breach, because that home wireless router's password might be password, but it extends the Wi-Fi and the network out into the sidewalk, out into the driveway. There's a customer that we got hired to just engage with, like just from IT stuff. Hey, come fix my computers and come do some things. And we did a network penetration scan, because we do that as standard. And we found the public Wi-Fi was the same network that the HVAC and the heating and the electrical systems were on. So I was able to just like poke. This is the new temperature today. And they were really uncomfortable with that for good reason. And then walking them through the way to fix those things and sort those things out became beneficial to showcase the value, but at the same time, they offered that public Wi-Fi. The people who installed it were like, oh, well, nobody gave us any direction. We're just going to join these wireless devices over here. So it's your organization is doing the right thing, but it could be a little bit better because they're assuming that all of your employees are also going to do the right thing, and they won't. As a matter of fact, in the military, 25% of the training that I went through for cyber was insider threat, like consistent. It is going to be an employee. 1 out of 4 breaches is going to be an employee, and 1 out of 10 is going to be an active employee. How many people in this room have heard of a lawyer taking the entire customer list and walking out and trying to start their own practice? See a couple hands. Right? So the insider threat is real. Hopefully that answers that question. Sir?
Can you give us a better idea of kind of what I guess I'm trying to kind of identify the risk. And the reason I said that is I don't cheat on my wife. I don't care if somebody gets in my email and sees Aunt Helen's brownie recipe. I mean, so I will say I online bank. So, but kind of drill down and tell us what the risk is. I mean, honestly, out of thousands of emails, thousands of them are extraordinarily boring.
Oh, yes.
And it's hard for me to believe somebody's going to dig through all of that boring junk.
And I will. If you ever imagine like a hoarder house, right? There's jewelry in there somewhere. There's some rare comic book. There's something that somebody's going to be interested in, and we've already got scripts for it, right? I already have just the same filtering software that looks for you sending a credit card out or Social Security. I already have a script that's going to go through all your email. That's going to look for those things. But from a holistic conversation standpoint, to actually answer your question about what should I do, the answer is you should know what's going on. And that can literally just be, do I have a firewall that can give me a log? What websites did Tammy go to? What risk do I have in my organization from an HR management standpoint? From a technical standpoint, from a financial standpoint? It's just effectively a good cybersecurity professional is actually an insurance salesman that doesn't sell insurance. Right? I'm just highlighting the risks to you and then saying these are the things you should go do to fix them. So your question is exactly this: what do I do? How do I solve my problems? And it's logging and monitoring. It's being able to say, this computer is doing X, Y, and Z. This person is doing X, Y, and Z. And you can generate a report whenever you want on the activities that those people were doing. Not because you care about employee monitoring or management of, being a micromanager. But if the computer is doing something that the computer's not supposed to do because of a malicious update, because of a we've got 6 law offices as clients, so I'm going to start using some specific examples. Video files for a bus accident come in from an organization that's run by the state. The state hands the customer viruses, and the customer's network might get taken over. But they've asked for it. They're expecting it. I'm expecting a DVD or a CD or a USB or something with these files on it. I need to look through these files. And I need to ingest these files in my case management system. Well, these virus-filled files could take over my network. So I need to know that something bad has just happened. And if I write the virus tonight, none of your antivirus is going to find it tomorrow. So you need to have something that's more holistically asking, are you talking to Poland? Should you be talking to Poland? Or if you don't need to go talk to a website in Spain, you should turn that off. Turn off all external access. Turn off being able to talk to Russia or China or Japan or for whatever reason. And then be able to have alerts that say, hey, somebody's trying to get in the back door of your organization, just like somebody's trying to get in the back door of your house. Not because we care about what the employee is doing, but we care about what the system is doing. Is there anyone from the outside world that can talk to this computer? Is the computer trying to talk to anything else outside the world? And you could literally just click, click, click. Here's a report. I'm clean. Is that a good enough holistic answer? Sir? No.
Again, so let's talk about online banking.
Sure.
How easy is it for somebody to get into my bank account? Or, for example, I go on DoorDash and I put in my credit card number. How is it easy for somebody to get my credit card number because I put it into DoorDash when I ordered a hamburger?
So, assuming your systems are secure, or we can assume they're not secure. So when it comes to online banking, if I'm going to break into your bank account, and this is very relevant, I just took over a $1.5 billion company 3 months ago. And I had this conversation with the owner, whose net worth is really significant. And I said, hey, I can get in your bank account whenever I want. And he's like, how can you get into my bank account? I'm like, well, I'm in the computer you're logging into the bank account with. I was able to log in to the network via the Wi-Fi. I was able to crack the password because it was very, very easy. Then I was able to scan for devices in the network that they had, which were physical servers. I was able to compromise those physical servers. Those physical servers were Active Directory servers, which were login authentication servers. The owner's laptop authenticated to that server, and I was able to push software to his laptop that then let me record keystrokes and monitor what he was doing. The moment he logged in his bank account, I was in his bank account with him. Right? He had two-factor, he had text, and I had to walk him through that I would use AI to impersonate him. I had a voice impersonator ready to go, and because I was able to log into his account, I was able to redirect the phone call that the bank would certainly call him and ask him for the approval of the $35 million wire transfer that he definitely didn't send, but it would sound like him when they called him, and I answered the phone, and I confirmed that, yes, this was a legitimate transaction. If his organization had monitoring to know that outside devices were talking to his network that he had never seen before, that suddenly there was an update that only applied to the CEO's laptop, that there was anything going on inside the environment, there could have been a lot of flags that would have gone up that would have prevented any of that from happening. You should have multi-factor on everything everywhere, and you should have credit protections turned on. You should turn off the ability for anyone to open credit cards in your name. So if you called up and say, hey, turn off all my credit, meaning close it or freeze it, so that people can't open credit. But the attack is going to be the same as long as I can get on the network that your device is on, and if you're doing things that aren't best practice, if you're storing your credit card in the browser of your computer, and it's not in a secure vault like a 1Password or a password manager vault that then interacts with the browser and brings that credit card information in, I'm going to be able to do some shady stuff. and I'm going to be able to pull that credit card out of the browser if you've saved it directly in the browser. And I'm going to be able to dwell inside your computer if your computer doesn't have monitoring. And when you log into your secure facilities or your secure platforms, regardless of what those platforms are, because you've given the authentication token, I'm in that platform with you. So the answer is monitoring and management so that you can actually have a report of what is happening on your network and your devices. I hope that was more specific. How's everyone feeling? I don't have any Xanax with me. Sir?
What about writing passwords down?
Writing passwords down, so the first thing I do when I walk into a place and I'm doing a pen test is I lift up the keyboard. Right? I grab the drawer next to me. I'm looking for a 3-ring binder. 3-ring binder, right? Flip, flip. Oh, this has got like 90 dog-eared Post-it notes in it. This is the one I want. Flip, 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 flip. Oh, here's all the passwords. Password managers are not just there for security, they're there for positive functionality. So while I'm up here doing my presentation, Titanium, I've got 12 employees. Some of those employees have passwords to the critical infrastructure that they need at my customers or in Titanium, and they have that with OnePass. If my employees are not trained on a thing, I can make sure that they don't have access to those passwords. If I'm a partner of an organization and I'm going to leave and I'm going to stand on the side of a volcano or go visit the Titanic, somebody has access to the critical passwords to keep my organization moving forward if something happens to me or they can't get a hold of me. In the case of both of those scenarios, cell phone service isn't available. So even if you absolutely needed something desperately, somebody that's in the middle of nowhere, hiking the Himalayas, you can't get a hold of them. You can't get that password. So moving away from having handwritten is kind of a requirement, but at the same time, anything you secure it in, I'm gonna walk right through it, right? And I know that sounds extreme, but you start go to YouTube and watch Lockpicking Lawyer. He's got, let's go back to that for a second. If you can see that, that's 1.5K videos. When I say he's broken into everything on the planet, he's broken into everything on the planet. There are security companies that make locks and send them to him to just pick them on his channel. So wherever the password is inside the office, I'm going to go find it. Unless it's obfuscated in another way. Maybe half the password's there, maybe half the password isn't there. You can start getting some ciphertext going, and it's the 1960s Bond film. I got to steal half the password over here and half the password over there, and there's a middle number missing, right? So there's ways to make that secure, but you're not giving benefit to the organization by having a password manager that you can share critical things like something with your PA or your EA or your partners or your paralegals that need that information. Or your partner. I know you might not share everything with your partner, right? And by partner I mean both business partner or wife or husband or whoever. Did I answer the question? Okay. Sir?
I just have a follow-up. So, what you're saying is pretty alarming. So how do you secure your passwords?
How do I what?
How do you secure your passwords? Do you use those?
That'll be $10. The 1Password. I use 1Password. Our organization uses 1Password. It's really great because of the functionality. Now, most of my passwords are the super critical. So the password to get into 1Password is not written down anywhere. That's one of those, I was catching seahorses with my wife on the beach and she laughed. 1 exclamation mark. Right? I'm making my password a memory that I'm not going to be able to forget, and then I don't reuse it anywhere. Right? It can't go out in a breach. right? If your password is hook 'em horns, 1 exclamation mark. I've ran into that. Austin 1 exclamation mark with capital A, right? Like just the, orange, burnt orange, any of those. Those are like right on the list. If your Wi-Fi is a phone number or a fax number, I'm through it in 10 seconds. 10 seconds. So your passwords are really important that you manage them well. How we're managing them, you should go to your organization and say, do you have a password manager? What do you use and what do you recommend? If they say LastPass, run. And if they say anything else, just say, all right, why should we be using this? And let them say how it benefits the organization. And it might even be free. They might already be paying for it. And all of this is just cybersecurity training that your organization should already be giving you. There should be somebody handing you videos, handing you training, handing you little mini quizzes. Hey, here's the cybersecurity risk of the week. Did you know that SIM swapping is a thing? SIM swapping is where somebody impersonates you to your cell phone provider and then gets them to transfer your phone number to a new SIM because they've impersonated you, because the fallback is your social security number for AT&T or Verizon or any of those things if you haven't called in and changed it. So now I've got your SIM, so now I've got your two-factor for a lot of things. So if I already have your login and password, even if you put two-factor on things, now I'm breaking through the two-factor. So like this is like it's like any one of you coming up here and trying to explain to a high school student why they should be doing what you are the expert at. Yeah, I mean, it's a fire hose, which is why I stop and I just let the questions come, because the questions are more the base of everyone else in the area, and usually there's more benefit gained from that. Sir?
Should we never store passwords in on a smartphone? I think I know the answer.
You should, if you are using a password manager in specifically, like if you have one password, so one is none. If you have one password on your phone, or you have a password manager on your phone, that's fine. If you're saving them in the notes field, and I call that out because, again, that's normal, right? A lot of these things you're like, oh my God, I'm doing that. The reason I'm saying it is because you're not alone in doing it. A lot of people do it. So all you can do now is that you're aware, all right, I should go segregate my assets. Right? I should go have a power of attorney. Right? Those kind of things that you're walking and you're shifting in another direction. All you can do is make decisions based on those things. Hopefully that answers that question. I got 145 left.
The password manager you think is probably the best. What's the name of the company?
Number one, password.com. I am not a paid spokesman. I gain no benefit of telling you to go get onepassword.com. Sir?
As far as targets go for hacking, are individuals somebody that they're generally looking at? Millions of people, or are they looking at targets that are going to have more information?
I'm coming after you, personally, because the organization you're attached to. I want more information on the organization. If I can get more information on the organization from you, because your home security or your personal security, your old MySpace password, that might still let me into stuff, is out there. That's what I'm interested in you. I got a chiropractic customer, and she said to me, I wish I could just strap these insurance companies to a chair and just make them answer my questions. And I said, well, you can. You just go find somebody that just got fired on LinkedIn and pay them $100 and buy them DoorDash for lunch. They'll answer all the questions that you want. She's like, man, I've made 6 figures from that decision. So, that's insider threat. That's just after the fact. I have 15 seconds. I hope that answered your question. Everyone, thank you all so much. I'll be out in the lobby for a little while. Hopefully somebody left me salad. I've got cards if anyone wants cards. I hope you all have a great day, and I apologize for the indigestion.